Wetlands are one of the most important ecosystems on our planet. They help reduce flooding, control erosion, and purify water. Do you care? Canada's wetlands are home to more than 600 species of wildlife. We've lost more than 70% of our wetlands, and we lose more every year. Now, do you care? We care. We're Canada's conservation company, Ducks Unlimited.
This is Report on Business Television. It's all about business, all day. Canada's new all-business news network, ROBtv. With Daywatch, a must-watch for timely, accurate, reliable intelligence on money and the markets. Daywatch is live, current news about business, news you need to know, updated constantly throughout the business day. If you're tuned into business, then you'll want to stay tuned to Report on Business Television, all day, ROBtv. ROBtv, Report on Business Television.
Good evening. You know those annoying ads that you see on the websites when you're surfing the web? Well, guess what? There's lots more coming, and they're going to be more expensive. The future of web advertising, plus politics, plus the film business on the bottom line. Don't go away. Good evening. Well, the web is big news. It has been for years, and big news for advertisers. Sometimes it's been oversold, it seems to me, but it looks like it's catching up to expectations now. Lehman Brothers, the mighty Wall Street firm, today upgraded the shares of Yahoo, yahoo.com, and naturally the stock moved. I'm joined by our New York correspondent, Pat Kiernan, in New York. Good evening, Pat.
Good evening.
And Wendy Mueller, who's director of Double Click Canada, the web advertising agency. Well, Pat, tell me about Lehman Brothers first. What did they say about Yahoo, and what happened?
Well, Lehman Brothers have been looking at Yahoo, and the specific piece of information that caught our eye today was the fact that analyst Brian Oates, in his look at Yahoo, said that he expects that on September 15th, the company is going to release a new rate card with advertising rates 15 to 20% higher than they are right now.
That's a fair jump. I'd like to get a 20% raise.
Yeah, well, and that report in itself, you know, this single development with Yahoo isn't the interesting news so much as the trend that it signals, which is that the internet advertising field is continuing to gain legitimacy, and if Yahoo is able to command rates like that, then particularly some of the other big websites will be able to command higher rates. And again, it gives you the idea that advertisers are really catching on to this as an alternative to traditional advertising media.
Did they talk about the downside for other forms of advertising?
Well, I was looking at some statistics for the trends ahead. There's a company called Forrester Research out of Cambridge, Massachusetts, that back in August released a forecast about exactly what might happen as far as the next 4 or 5 years in the internet advertising field. And Forrester expects that by 2004, online advertising is going to triple at least, and at that point they say that online advertising would be in a position to rival radio as the 4th most popular advertising medium in the U.S. Television, of course, is first, newspapers second, and direct mail is third, and right now radio is 4th, but according to this report by Forrester, within 5 years we could very well see online advertising knock radio to that position.
Wendy Mueller, director of Double Click Canada, I saw you nodding contentedly at those numbers.
Those numbers actually don't surprise me at all. It's finally the secret's out that we've known for quite some months, that the buys are getting bigger, the advertisers are interested in targeting deeper, so they're willing to pay more for it. And it's because of the age of the medium, I think, that it is still a little bit of the wild, wild west, but it is still a viable form of advertising where you're able to interact one-to-one with your potential user. And so what they're now noticing is that for some time to come now, there's only going to be a small window of opportunity where you're allowed to get in on the ground floor of buying up certain real estate on certain sites that won't be there for very long. So I always equate it back to traditional media in the form of being able to be the founding sponsor of a print supplement.
Yeah, but Wendy, if you can't buy it on the site you want, there are going to be 15 more sites like it next week.
Not really. I think what you're seeing now is there is kind of an evening out of good content sites. we are constantly approached, probably about 20 requests a day for people who want us to represent their sites for advertising. And unfortunately, we cannot take everybody on because advertisers want brand names, they want where the users are going, and they want to be where the traffic is going to grow.
So it's too late for me. MichaelVaughn.com is not going to fly.
Michael, you could always fly, so I wouldn't worry about that. We'll find room for you. I think people are also noticing that users are becoming, they're much more intelligent now. They've been around for 2 or 3 years, and they know what advertising is about, and it's no longer intrusive. It's actually something that's
not
actually...
Not intrusive. You've got monkeys crawling across the screen. You've got banners where you don't want them.
What sites are you on? What we like to talk to people about, because it is all learning experience for everybody, you have to understand that if somebody, for instance, I always use the example that if I was thinking about going to the UK and kept looking up a site called Great Bed and Breakfast in the UK, and I'm sitting in Toronto and I keep going to this site and I keep looking for vacancies in the last 2 weeks of November. Gee, might I be going to the UK? Wouldn't it be great if Air Canada shows me an ad that says Toronto, London, seat sale? That's not intrusive advertising. That's actually information I want to know.
I agree. And that's less offensive than the banners. Pat?
Michael, that's a key point that Brian Oates of Lehman Brothers made in his comments today, was that Yahoo particularly has been very successful in developing very good targeting for its advertising, and more so than some of the smaller websites. The big websites are becoming must-buys because of that, because they're able to be more accountable and figure out exactly who the viewers are, and then let the advertisers know that not only are they delivering 1,000 ads, but they're delivering 1,000 ads to people who might actually care about those particular products. And the bigger websites have an advantage in that, and some of the service agencies like DoubleClick that get involved in that as well, because they are dealing with huge numbers of ads. They can then have more sophisticated analysis tools and really target where those ads are going, rather than just slapping up those banners at the top of a page.
True, but Wendy, I mean, I can target in other media as well as the net. I mean, if I want to advertise to golfers, I can run an ad in a golf magazine. Yeah,
but you're also not necessarily showing it to exactly the person at the right time, potentially of purchase. And that's the interactive part of the net. We're currently delivering, globally, we're delivering around 11 billion ads a month now. In Canada, we can offer 120 million ad impressions a month to Canadians.
Now, how much do I pay for that compared to the other media?
Well, you're probably looking for not very deep targeting. You could be in around
$20
to $25 cost per thousand for untargeted, but that's, you don't want that. What you want is you want to be able to show your ad to a University of Western Ontario student versus a U of T student at 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. And
what would you be selling then?
What could you possibly sell them? Just think. So, what you're really...
So how much, what's the CPM for that?
We've had CPMs as high as 120 bucks.
Ooh.
But...
what do you pay for television?
Think what you... Well, that again, I mean, it depends on the volume of your ad contract, I think. Think about what you're doing. We've had some people who've purchased keywords that are in high 6 figures to buy one word and own one word.
Well, give me a for instance.
It would be a programming language. It might be a piece of medical equipment. It might be something to do with a legal, if somebody's looking up brain injury, gee, what are they looking for?
I see.
So, I mean, you have to really look at the value of...
That's sneaky advertising,
well, it's not sneaky advertising. It's actually, again, going back to informative advertising. If I'm actually looking up, wanting to find out all the information I can about the latest programming software that's been released, I'm actually a real targeted, qualified user. Yep. So an advertiser is willing to pay for that. So I think that's where you're getting into. Our software is called DART, and it's dynamic, so there's no ad there until somebody goes in.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Pat, I would think the Lehman report would give Yahoo a bit of a lift today.
Yeah, Yahoo stock was up about $10 today on this news, and generally because of this report and some other positive moves in the internet sector, Yahoo was up. The direction this is going, and something that I'd like to bring into the discussion here, is exactly this idea of accountability for advertisers. The internet unquestionably has gained a lot of legitimacy as an advertising medium, and we talked about it perhaps displacing radio as the #4 buy for advertisers. But right now, according to that report that I was talking about, that August report from Forrester Research, about 85% of ads are placed on this cost per thousand basis, a flat rate that we're going to throw the ad up there and it'll be out there to 1,000 people who might be interested in it. About 15% of internet ads are on a performance basis, which somehow takes into account whether the ad actually motivates a person to click on that ad banner and get more information about the product. And the Forrester report says that more advertisers are demanding that some sort of performance basis be taken into account on the charge for their advertising. They want to know that people are actually seeing the ads and doing something about it. Forrester says that by 2003 we could see up to half of internet ads billed on that performance basis rather than on this flat rate that is the dominant model right now.
That makes sense. Wendy, is that, I mean, I go to websites and blast right past them. Performance makes some sense.
Well, actually, there's a big debate about cost per thousand or click rates or exactly what should you be measuring. And it is a new medium, so we have to be careful and make sure we're setting the terms properly at the beginning. The metric really isn't a click rate. It isn't on when you click on a banner. It's what did you do after you clicked. So people are getting caught at the wrong part, in my opinion, about they're measuring right there.
And you know that about me when I come to the site?
I can go beyond once you've clicked, and we can figure out, did you fill out a registration form? Did you actually buy online? And that kind of information starts to become very useful, obviously, to advertisers.
Is this do you think there's any change in sentiment? I mean, not that it could be much hotter than it is already, Pat, but does this fuel the fire a bit?
Well, this fuels the fire, and generally some of the trends in the internet business fuel the fire as well. Something that's going to be very exciting for people that are in the internet advertising business is the continued proliferation of streaming media and increased bandwidth on the internet. Not only will you be able to have a static banner or a slightly animated banner,
you can have us. You can have us.
Well, no, you will be able to include music or a jingle or you know, if somebody is clicking on some sort of a video news report, perhaps for the first 5 seconds, you can have a billboard that has somebody's ad on it. Then you get into the issue of how intrusive this advertising becomes. People tolerate that on television because they have no way around it. On the internet, people kind of expect that they see what they want when they want. But there are certainly some of these trends that will make internet advertising a little more dynamic than it is right now. And you know, I mean, it's still not as catchy as television. Nobody's humming the Coca-Cola internet advertising.
The bottom line theme.
Oh, but they will.
Well, I mean, there are lots of media buying services, Wendy. I mean, I guess the big companies will want to get into internet advertising. Do you think DoubleClick's got some sort of lead that you can fight them off for a while?
Well, we've essentially we've been doing this for about 4 years. So the amount of mapping we've been doing, long time.
What a veteran.
What, 28 years now. I've been in it for 2 or 14, depends what you want to look at. So I think those who have come early to market and have been smart and very practical and not lost focus about what they're doing are going to find some really fun times ahead.
Yeah, it's a hard buy to make. I mean, I'd need guidance.
Well, and that's what we do. We're still educating a lot, particularly in Canada.
Yep.
We're spending a lot of time educating, but that's really what our role is. Teach people, help them. So.
Well, ROBtv is going to be on the web soon, so I hope you buy those ads too. Thanks very much to Pat Kiernan in New York and Wendy Mueller here in Toronto from DoubleClick. We will be back with a terrific political panel right after this. Stay with us.
In 1996, e-commerce transactions totaled $2.8 billion. By 2003, it will be 1.3 trillion. Can your network cope? AT&T, the network the world